Welcome back, my brave and beautiful humans, to another episode of Soul Hygiene. I'm excited to have my new friend here again with us. We just had him on a couple of weeks ago, Mr. Parsons, and he just has such an amazing story. I told him he had to come back and share a few more tidbits with us that are, expound on a few things. So I'm excited to have him back. Hello, Mr. Chris. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So I know that we were just talking about, you know, what you do now, that you've turned your life around, that God turned your life around. And there's so many things. He's a walking miracle, just like me. So we have that in common for sure. But where you're at now, like how I want people to know, like when you really turn your life to God, right?
Yeah,
And you do your purpose and you find this purpose, what that looks like. And it looks different for everybody, but I know you have a purpose. So I'd like you to expound on that, kind of just share with people how you got to that point. I know we touched on it a little bit in our last video, but I think the last one was a little bit more about, your addiction, how you went through it, how you got out of it. But I'd like everyone to know like where you're at now, the miracles that have happened, how you got your house, what you're doing with it, and just the amazing things that God's doing in your life. So I'd love for you to share anything you want about that and see where it goes.
all right, great. Yeah, so I love that word purpose.
Yeah.
I have a sweatshirt that this Christian friend of mine gave actually she bought all the guys in the house one for Christmas, and it says created for purpose on a or created on purpose for a purpose.
Yep.
And that was like the biggest thing. Once I got sober, I was sober, but that wasn't, now you have to find your purpose. You got to find something. You have to create a whole new life. And so my first like 6 months, I spent rebuilding my life and finding out who I was. And then I was at a sober living house, and I just got my job, and I just got my car and my license back, and my job was interfering with the program's schedule. So I went to this Bible study one night, and they shared with us about this Bible verse. It says, "Greater love hath no man than a man who lays his life down for his friends." And when I heard that Bible verse, when I was in active addiction for like 5 years, I lived out at the homeless shelter off and on. Actually, I go out there on the first and the third of every month and sell everybody drugs, take their social security checks, and leave. You know, and I felt horrible about it.
Yeah.
But when I heard that Bible verse, I heard God telling me, "You have to go back out there and witness to those guys." And I tried going out there and getting a job, and I wasn't able to get a job because I hadn't been, not living in the system for 2 years, and so my sober living was going to, tell me that, I had to either, find a different job, or I was going to have to move out. And when they told me that, I was nervous about it, but I decided that I was going to leave the comforts of my sober living and go back out to the homeless shelter and live as a homeless guy, sober. And man, there's drugs all over that place. Overdoses over there is just rampant. My first 3 nights I slept in my car, and each night it got 10 degrees colder. So it was kind of like God was pushing me in there, you know. But
Mhm.
um, but that's when I found my purpose. I went in there because I felt like what greater of a person to be a billboard than me, because these guys knew who I was, but they didn't know who this new guy was. And I went back in and I just started witnessing to everybody. I mean, every time I left from there, my car was packed full of guys. I was taking them to church. I was taking them to AA meetings. You know, and then I started, getting some guys to go into treatment. And that first one that I got into treatment, that was it. I knew what my purpose was, you know. like I said before, I had that apartment. You know, it was only a small one bedroom, but my couch was always full. You know, there was always somebody that was in recovery that was living with me, that I was helping them. You know, encouraging them to push them along, which gave me the drive to get my house. You know, so like the homeless community is like um my biggest passion. You know, just this past week, you know, with three different churches, I went out into the homeless community. I mean, I might as well start selling tickets, you know, because these people just love going out with me, because I just go like right back into the I go right back into the homeless camps, you know, and meet them where they're at, you know. And I'm not pushing them or telling them that you have to have
Mhm.
Jesus, or, you know, I just meet them where they are. You know, I feed them and love on them, and share my testimony with them, you know, and it's amazing, you know. I mean, it's kind of like when I give my testimony, especially if I show them, you know, the video where I got that award for the Evangelist of the Year award. In one scene in it, it says that, you know, that those who come in contact with Chris, their lives are forever impacted. And then it goes on saying that, you know, that I've led more people to go into drug treatment and find Jesus than anybody that they've ever known before, you know. And I think I'm up to right around 300 now. You know, 300 people have gotten into treatment. Um, and it's like every time I play that video for them, you know, it's like you can just see this change that happens in their eyes. It just gives them this hope, you know, that there is something better. Um,
And I think that's the word, right? It's hope.
yeah,
Like a lot of people that I've heard, and I've heard you say it before, you were hopeless. You were addicted because you didn't feel like there was any hope. And
right. You get so trapped in addiction. You know, I mean, it's horrible. You know, I mean, these people that are out here panhandling and stuff like that. I hear so many people sit there and say, "I don't want to give them no money because they're going to go get high with it." You know, and I always tell them, you know, don't do it because, you know, you're doing it for them. Do it for God. You
yeah,
know, that's how I look at it. I mean, I just went and picked a guy up the other day, and you know, he'd been around a campfire for a couple of weeks, so he had soot all over him, and you know, and I just told him, I said, look, man, I said, I'll come pick you up, bring you back to our house, you know, let you take a shower and get cleaned up, and then I took him out to eat at Chinese, and you know, that's it. You know, he didn't accept the offer of going into treatment, but he did say he'll think about it. You know, when
and
that lady, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
When that lady got me that hotel room, you know, for a
Mhm.
whole week, I sat there and argued with her. You know, I mean, she pretty much wrote me off. You know, as you know, I did what I could do. You know, she didn't know that I went and got sober. You know, it wasn't until months later whenever I finally contacted her and I said, "Hey, I'm sober." You know, and you know, today we're best friends, and her seeing my faith, you know, grow and grow stronger, encourages her and makes her faith stronger too. You know,
Yeah,
it's amazing that one act of kindness that she made, and you know the impact that it made. You know, especially in our community.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's what kindness does. It doesn't matter what you're doing. I mean, you can literally change a person's life just by being kind to them and being compassionate to their circumstances and not judging them. I think the one thing I really like about you is that you have these accolades and people do recognize you and they give you credit, but you're always the one to say, I wouldn't be here without God. You know, like God changed your life. This is God working through me, you know, and you're very humble in that way. And I love that because, you know, sometimes people just go out there and they take the credit for what they're doing, but they wouldn't be there,
Right. Yeah.
you know, had God not done something in their life. So I really like that you always give the credit to God, but that's amazing. And I know that you have a sober living house now. I think
Yeah.
we had talked
Parsons
about,
Project
right?
Ministries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that because I want to know more about that.
Well, let's see. So I got it in November of were we 2023, 2023, is when I first got it. Um, which I mean, so going back a little ways, when I was about 6 months sober, is when I first got God gave me that vision. I was looking at my father's apartment building across the street from this bank, and that I just went and opened my account in, and I'm sitting in the parking lot and I'm looking across, and I'm seeing Parsons Project Ministries on the front of his building. And then I look down at my ledger that they give you when you open a bank account, and the bank's motto was dream big. And then I went straight home and called a friend of mine that was a realtor, and I said, I want to buy a house. I want to turn it into a sober living. She says, slow down. You just come out from under a bridge. And so she put me in contact with her realtor, and he told me everything I needed to do. And in 2 years time, I got my credit score up to a 720. And I mean, I got the house. I mean, it's amazing. Everything, the entire process was all God. I mean, it was. There's no way I should have got this house, but I was definitely blessed. I didn't have no co-signer. I did it
Wow,
all on my own. I
that's
already had,
amazing.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
So
How many? Oh, I'm
I've
sorry.
had 17 guys come through my house so far, and I've only had two of them relapse since I've been here, and all
That's a
the others.
pretty good percentage.
It is, but I mean, but I get to pick my guys. I don't have to just pick anybody. I'm very picky. They all pay rent here. I don't get no government funding, nothing like that. Everything's done out of my pocket. I charge them $500 a month. Um, I just got my peer support license, so they get to be on my caseload as well. So that's how I
Nice.
get, yeah, that's how I get my income. And I even picked up another job, another full time job, working for another recovery center. I'm gonna be driving their van, going and picking up clients from that are coming out of jails and prisons, and so that's really, I'm really excited about that one.
I love your heart. I love your heart for, you know, we never know why somebody starts taking drugs or starts drinking or becomes addicted, right? And I mean, we can look at the world and there's so many things that can be addictive. Sugar, food, you know. We don't know why a person goes down this path, but I feel very blessed that to know that if someone I knew did go down that path, there's someone there to give them hope.
Amen.
You know,
Yeah,
how
yeah,
many, every single man that has come through your house was a son to some mother,
amen. Yeah,
you know? And I mean, me having, I have grandbabies now, and it's like, I would want somebody to rescue my child and to be there and give them hope if I
yeah.
couldn't, you know? So I
That's
mean there's a lot to be said for um people who come out of that destructive lifestyle and completely turn their lives around and submit to their calling and to their purpose just to serve other people and to help those people have a life, you know? That to me is like amazing. Because you don't have to do what you're doing. You don't have to. You could have become sober and just went on about your life.
I mean, I've given, I made the promise to God in the county jail, whatever is left of my life, I want to spend serving Him
Yeah,
and serving other people, serving Him, you know.
right.
And I've put my entire life into this. I mean, I live in my sober living house. My guys are my family. I mean, I take every one of them over to my mom and dad's house and introduce them, and it just to show them the love and the support that they have. I'll never forget my you know I'm not saying he was one of my favorites. They're all my favorites, but John Jones, this guy moved in with me. He was one of my first ones, And this guy's life just took off and flourished. I mean, he went from this menial job, he went to grocery stores doing, counting and doing inventory. And then next thing you know, he got a manager position, and then he was district manager, and now he's area manager. He's got his own car now. But I'll never forget the first time that his daughter was allowed to be dropped off. She was taken by Children's Services, and then a family adopted her out, but they still stayed in contact with him. Uh, our first Christmas here at the house, the whole their that the family that adopted his daughter had come here and brought all their kids. So that was amazing right there.
Oh.
That this Christian family knows that there's a whole bunch of recovering drug addicts here, and they felt comfortable. They said that they felt at home in our home, and then spoiling his daughter. I mean, I went out and bought her a kitchenette set, and Play-Doh and stuff, and just being able to just sit there and watch
Mhm.
these two reconnect. It was truly amazing.
It's almost like you're their parent looking down and being so proud of their accomplishments. When they're done, they're like, okay, I'm done, I'm not doing this again, and they start changing their lives. It's almost like a parent looking at their child, be like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. Like I just I'm really, and I'm proud of you because, like I said, I know there's people across the country who have done what you're doing, right? I mean, there wouldn't be sober living centers otherwise
I
because
mean,
they,
I got taught by the best.
right. But, to have a genuine heart and to have a genuine purpose to help others change their lives, bring them out of addiction, which is one of the biggest tragedies, I think, in our society. Um, and then to watch them flourish,
Yeah.
that to me is amazing. Like, I can't wait for you to write your book because I think it will, the people you're reaching people now, but just imagine the people that you can reach across the country just by telling your story, and them knowing that you're in this little spot in the USA helping
Right.
other people have a
Right.
good life and giving them hope. And that, I don't know, amazing is the only word I can think of because it's just, it's all God. And I know that you give him the glory for that. And just, you can see, I see God through my life. Just, he opens doors and then
Absolutely.
he'll open another door. And it's almost like these pieces start fitting together and you're like, how did that just happen? you know? But if you're looking at him and you're like, okay, I like, for me, I'm not a victim. I'm going to start healing and I want to help people heal. You know, I'm in a different realm than you, but not. And God will just bring along these people or these little things to make sure that he's there and he's one leading, and it's just how things just
Absolutely.
fit together. It's
Yeah.
amazing to me.
I
Yeah.
can't tell you all the God stories that I have. It's
Oh, I,
just
I know you have a lot of.
yeah, yeah. We'll have
Yeah,
to do a segment on that one time.
we'll just call it
Yeah,
God stories. Yeah, for sure.
right. I'm serious. Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite verses when I'm out here, doing the service work is Hebrews 13:3 or 13:2 says, that be kind to strangers because you never know when you're entertaining an angel.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times I've walked away from these guys and I'm just like, that was God, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Yeah.
Yeah. Be careful what you say because you may be entertaining angels unaware. And I do really believe that in this life, I do believe that for me, I grew up in a Christian home and I still have my Christian belief. Um, but I do believe that the angels fight our wars that,
Oh,
we
absolutely.
don't we don't see what is out there, but there are spiritual battles that are constant. And I do believe that, you never know who you're talking to.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
I gauge my blessings off of the, you know, whatever storm I'm going through, it's when the enemy comes, it's always because there's a blessing on the other side, and the bigger the struggle that you're going through at that time, the bigger the blessing's going to be on the other side. He's not happy, you know.
that's a good way to look at it. I mean, I always said, you you can't know what victory is unless you've gone through a war, unless you've gone through a battle.
Amen.
You can't know what love is, true love is, unless you've been heartbroken. There's always the opposite of everything. But when it comes to life, unless you really know, I I believe unless you really know who God is, you can't know what true blessings are.
Amen. Yeah.
You know, you just
Yeah.
you just can't. Because I know for me, I can look back on my life now, as traumatic as it was, and even more traumatic to other people. They look at my what I went through and they're like, "Oh my goodness, how did you survive?" And I'm like, I look at it now and I can pull blessings out of every single thing. And
Yeah.
I know you do that as well, you know.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I really enjoyed having you back. And of course, we're going to do it again because you just have so much to talk about.
Real quick, Ephesians
Yes.
6:8. Ephesians 6:8 um, says, whatever good deed that you do for someone, that he'll do for you in return, whether you believe or not. And I truly believe in that. I truly do.
Well, here's my thing. There are good people whether they believe in God or not, right?
Right.
There are
Yeah.
good people around the world, and we are not lost, or I am not lost on the fact that not everyone's going to believe what I believe. And
Right.
I'm not going to beat people over the head with it, but I'm
Amen.
also not going to be shy about telling you what I believe. Um, but I have really good people in my life that don't believe in God. And I'm like, okay,
Mm.
that is on you and that's your choice.
Right.
But good people don't, not all good people believe in God, you know,
Right. Right. Yeah.
but they're still good people. And it's just a matter, God can use anyone,
Yeah.
whether they believe in him or not.
Yeah.
He can
Yeah.
use anyone. So this has been fantastic. I always enjoy having you here. Next time we'll have to talk more, just about what you're doing in the community because I know you do so much. I mean, we touched on a little bit, but you'll probably have another story for us the next time you get on the show, I'm sure, because you always have good stories and things that happen to you on a weekly basis. So I
Yes,
really
ma'am.
appreciate you joining us for another episode, and we'll get together here shortly. And thank you, everyone, for joining us for another episode of Soul Hygiene. We'll see you
Yeah.
later.
Thank you very much.